Hello and welcome to today's meeting. Am I audible to you? Am I visible to you? Just type out AC in the chat box. If I am audible to you and if I am visible to you, just type out AC in the chat box. Just type out AC in the chat box if I am audible to you and if I am visible to you. Yeah, thank you. So AC is for all here. Yeah, AC. Yeah. So thank you for the response. So yeah, so will you be interested in knowing how you can be at peace as well as let the child or allow the child to have his or her own way? Will you be interested in this or not? If you are interested, type me in the chat box or just type Y in the chat box. Y is for yes. Or maybe for some people, it just doesn't matter. Ignoring and diverting works, like the child is going, let's just ignore or let us just divert the child. If you are satisfied by doing just that, then type no, type N in the chat box. N is for no. Yeah. Question. Yeah, at the time when you are asking your question, you can please unmute, feel free to unmute and ask it out. So yes, you are here. Are you interested to learn how you can be at peace as well as allow the child to do what he or she wants to do? If you are interested in that, just type out Y in the chat box. Or if you're here just randomly, just type out N in the chat box. My audio is not very clear. I'll try to be louder. Okay, I'll try to be louder and let's see this. Yeah, thank you for that. Thank you for the mention. So yes, first of all, gratitude to you for taking the time out and attending this session, because again, this is an afternoon, as it is called as lazy afternoon. People just want to laze around. People just want to browse on social media. People who just want to just have some kind of relaxation time. But you have chosen to show up in this session that proves that yes, you are serious in the way you are raising your child, or what kind of environment you are providing to your child. So this session is not about more of my gyan. It's not about that. So first, I would like to, maybe you know what my works are, like through the article that I've shared in the group. Maybe you are a newcomer, or maybe you know about my work. But can I just take 2 minutes or less than 2 minutes to just introduce myself, a very crisp introduction? If I have the permission to introduce myself, please type out PG in the chat box. PG is for permission granted. I'll just take less than 2 minutes to introduce myself. And then we will be on the same page. Yes, thank you very much. Thank you, Deepti. So I'll just be sharing the screen here. Just going back. Yeah, thank you, Hema. And let's keep this interactive through the comments. And actually, this is mainly Q&A, so you can as well unmute your mic a little while further. This has brought me to work on this mission, that is to help 5,000 parents follow their intuition, inner power, intuition, and raise their children to be the true leaders that they are meant to be. Every child, every person is here as a born achiever. What we can do to nurture that is what is our responsibility, and not hinder that, not hinder the child's ability, who's already an achiever, who is already a successful person. So yes, this is something that I'm doing based on, I'm just admitting people, thank you for being with me, based on core values and principles imbibed in one's life. So if you are okay with this, if you resonate with my mission, just type out M in the chat box. If you feel this is something that you want to do for your child, not just raise another person in this crowd, overly populated world, but to raise a unique person, a unique leader in this world out there, to make the world a better place. Just type out M in the chat box if you resonate with this mission of mine. Yes, thank you very much, Deepthi. So today's, I've been taking a couple of sessions. So today's session is focused mainly on the questionnaire round, Q&A round, question and answer round. And as a follow-up, I mean, just to introduce what is intuition, how you can build up your, or not exactly build up your intuition, but you already have an intuitive power inside of you. You already have an inner voice inside of you. So how you can enhance or how you can listen to your inner voice is something that I would be talking on Saturday, this coming Saturday at 4 p.m. Right. So just to give a gist on how this intuition works, a very, very practical example and a very, very easy example that I keep telling to parents is I just share this example and let's just have a Q&A session. Is that okay with you? Please type out okay in the chat box if this is okay with you. I know there are some of you who have some questions, so I just give you some examples so that you will also understand what this intuition is about, what this inner voice is about, right? If you are okay with this, just type out okay in the chat box. Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much for the response. I just love this. So yes, how all of us have an intuition. Whether you listen to that intuition or whether you do not listen to that intuition is your responsibility, is your choice. But unfortunately, 95% of people all around the world, they are not even aware of the presence of this intuition. So when there is a conflict with an adult, there is a conflict with a child, there is a conflict with your own self. A very easy, a very practical and simple example that is an alarm is ringing at 6 a.m. in the morning, right? And then you have two answers that are kind of calling out to you. There is one answer coming from your inner self, from your true self. Oh, wake up. You wanted to do that yoga today. You wanted to read that book today. You wanted to walk today. You wanted to start running today, right? Just wake up. That answer is coming from your intuition, from your inner self, from your true self. There is another answer that is actually coming, which unfortunately most of us are listening to, that is coming from the monkey mind or the ego self or the false self. I'll go deep into this on Saturday. Just don't worry, even if you do not understand all these concepts, right? So there is a second answer that is coming. Oh, just sleep another 20 minutes, nothing is going to happen. The maid is yet to come after an hour. You remember you didn't sleep well last night. Your child kicked you, your child woke you up for toilet, your child woke you up for water, and you slept very late. It was very tiring. When you sleep, you are very tired when you slept, and anyways, you will have a tiring day. Anyways, your child will call you for tantrums. Why do you have to wake up? Just you can have another 30 minutes of extra sleep. If you think this is common, just type out C in the chat box. Do you encounter such situation in your life? And most often it happens that one listens to the monkey mind, right? Just type out C if you think it's common. Yes, thank you very much, Gayatri. And yes, it does happen that one listens to the monkey mind here. Okay, yeah, Deepthi. Thank you very much, Deepthi. So what happens is we want to comfort ourselves. The monkey mind actually wants to comfort you, saying, just don't come out of this comfort zone. You are good doing, you are sleeping well, you are good, just do that. The same thing also happens when you are in a conflict with your child. Milk spilled or water spilled, or your child did something your child didn't tell you, or your child did something and something annoying, something inappropriate. Again, you have two answers that are coming from within you. One is coming from your inner self. Maybe I think I just pause and see what is happening, what has happened. But again, very rarely one listens to it. And another answer that is coming sharply is from the monkey mind or from the ego self or from the false self. That is, your child deserves a spank now. This child, this boy here, he deserves a yell. You remember how much he irritated you just an hour back when you were in your office meeting? How much he irritated you? He deserves his yell. Let me just yell it out. Let me just vent out everything in front of my child. Right? And then just after you have done that, 10 minutes later or 1 hour later, you are feeling sad that you have done it. Right? You're feeling sad that you have done it. Again, if you agree this is common, please type out C in the chat box. Yes, this is common. So at every situation, you have two answers coming from. One is from your intuition, from your true self, and one is from your ego self or your monkey mind. Likewise, even for your child is very close to his or her own intuition. Yes, thank you, Sumati. Your child is very close to his or her intuition, right? So when your child is already close to his intuition, the infant is already guided by one's intuition. When do I have to ask for feed? When do I have to stop for feed? And all that is being guided by the infant's intuition. No one has actually taught the infant that you only have to feed so much, you only have to drink so much, you only have to sleep so much, you have to roll over the tummy at this point of time, you have to open your eyes at this point of time. No, there is no external teacher that is actually guiding the infant. It is the intuition that is guiding the infant. So children are closely connected to their intuition. Your toddler is closely connected to the intuition. Your 4-year-old, 5-year-old, 6-year-old, 7-year-old children basically are closely connected to their intuition. Until and unless the adult is using external manipulation, threats, bribes, spanks, yells so much that the child eventually forgets the presence of this intuition and just does it because I will get a sticky star. If I write 1 to 10 immediately, I will get a sticky star. If I finish meal, I will get a sticky star. You pay 2 lakh, 3 lakh per annum to a school, and ultimately your child is getting sticky stars if they finish writing 1 to 10. Right? Where is the joy of learning? So yes, I'll go deep into each of these aspects again in the upcoming sessions. Not to worry anything about it. But yes, the main background I wish to give you is the power of intuition, the guiding force that you already have within you. So when you are facing any conflict, who it is that you got to listen to? It is your intuition. It is your inner voice coming from your true self. So let me just take a pause here. And yeah, anybody having questions right now, maybe based on the 3 or 4 or any videos that you've watched of mine, please feel free to unmute and ask your question. Please feel free to unmute and ask your question. I know Hema had some questions, so I just before getting into the session, I read your question. I just thought, anyways, I'm going to talk to you.
Yes. There I asked in the morning that my son is appearing for the 8th standard now. But what happened during this last lockdown, he had lost interest in as it is, he was not much interested. But now whenever we tell him that please come and sit, at least revive what we have done for the last year, so that you will be in the continuation when there will be a class going on or at the school starts. But he does not like to sit at one place and study at all. So how do we make him study? I mean, we are also not like this because the 2 daughters are homeschooling, and this is the time. And still one more eldest, she has already completed her 10th in this lockdown only. So looking at all this scenario, they are not interested in sitting at one place and studying. And we are also not like forcing them to study, but at least basics that has to be there, which they have to learn. That so they should follow. No, they don't know what method should we apply so that they sit, they listen to us, they at least gain some knowledge what we want them to, which should be there to day-to-day life, which will be helpful to them. So how do we make them sit and make them learn? That's what my question was.
Yeah. So thank you very much for the question. So the point is just yesterday. So I have an inner circle community of parents who I coach regarding all these aspects. So just yesterday we had this session on multiple intelligences. So not everybody loves to get knowledge only through reading and writing. So when we have said that sit and study, again, children are not designed to sit at one place, actually speaking. So 50 years back, 100 years back, the household was just so much and the open area was so much. Now the whole household has become so much and there is no open area. So in general, the child's physical activity is being curbed. Don't run around, don't act like a monkey, don't become wild, right? But children are meant to be jumping around. Children are meant to be moving around. So when you are focusing on one particular concept, So can you look at what that concept is and how you can introduce it in other ways? Again, not everybody is into reading and writing and gaining knowledge through reading and writing. In multiple intelligence theory, there are 8 types of intelligences where each child is unique and each child can pick each of these intelligences to gain some kind of information. So maybe if you go into any specific, like, is there any concept specifically that you want to introduce to your child, or maybe you can help prepare a timetable for your child if you think, no, this is a method that your child has to do that is prescribed in the system. Again, if you are coming from a system per se, it is prescribed in the system and he has to do only this way. But still, you can bring in a unique way of introducing that concept. Being, let's see, for children, more than what they are doing, what they are feeling is important, right? So can you imagine maybe your parent is forcing you to do something like clean up something or something. But more than what you are doing there, maybe your parent-in-law is asking you to clean up something. More than what you are doing at that point of time, what you are feeling is important. When someone has asked to do it forcibly or after blaming or after shaming, you just don't want to do it because the feeling is more important. For any human out there, the feeling is important more than the doing. So likewise, even for your child, the feeling is important. So how you can get in connection with the feeling is when you are sharing what he wants to do, when he wants to do, how he wants to do, you giving options of how he can learn a certain concept. If you don't know, just Google around, right? Profit and loss, what are the various ways to learn? Or you can also have this as a project work for your child, right? Watch some YouTube videos and just collect some information about profit and loss. The other day, there was a problem at home, and you can just any problem again, some kitchen problem or something, you can just allocate this as a problem as a project statement for your child, and your child could Google around, get the information on YouTube and solve it, right? So there are various methods to learn, and children learn from experiences more than from books. They learn from experiences because all their 5 senses are involved in that, right? All the 5 senses are involved, and the feeling is more important. Again, coming back to it, the feeling is more important. Yeah. Anything specific you can again shoot out? Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. So yeah, anybody else has any other question? Or actually, what I shared was just maybe fraction, 1/20th of the entire sessions that I keep taking. So just stay in touch, and the next session that I'll be taking is on Saturday, 4 p.m. to 5:30 p.m. And I'll be rotating the topics that I'm going to talk about. So yeah, today I wanted to focus on Q&A. So any other questions, please feel free to ask. Yeah, so let me just also talk about what happens when your child is, say, okay, please enter what the age of your child is. Let me just understand the tempo here. Just type out the age of your child. Yeah, 5, Smriti 5, 6 and 3. Yes, 5 years. Yes. So when, yeah, thank you for that. Thank you for your response. So what happens is, again, when we are parenting, so each one parents based on the way he or she was parented, right? Even you have been parented in a certain way. Your parents have been parented in a certain way. If you see there will be certain belief system. Again, don't get confused with all these terms, but there are simple things that you think that maybe your parent has thought this is the way this has to be done, and you just imbibe that in your being, in your life. Yeah, thank you, Muna. You just imbibe that in your life, and then you expect that to happen to your child. So be it tantrums, be it forcing for studies, be it not just studies and tantrum, even for play, even for cleaning up, even for picking up stuff and all of that stuff, we sometimes imitate our parents. Did you ever feel this, that you sometimes something happens, you react negatively, you yell, you shout, you do something, and then immediately you recall that, oh my God, my mother was just like this when I was a child. Did you ever recall such kind of incident just about R in the chat box if you have recalled such things? Or, oh my God, my father just did that to me. I can recall something of that sort. If you recall that just about R in the chat box. So yes, that's very common. It happens, right? So by default, each one parents based on the way he or she was parented. That's by default. By default means by the monkey mind, by the ego self, by the pain body, and all of that stuff. That's because each of you, each of us, whatever age we are in, we have an inner child inside of us, right? An inner child. So again, in my community, the first, even though in the path that I have given, the first program is something else, the first course is something else. Every parent, what I have observed is they are first starting off with inner child. This proves the fact that all of us are so much going by default, right? When you have certain blame, when you are blaming your child, maybe this room is not clean, and you're kind of blaming your child. Oh my God, how many times should I tell you this? The room is not. You always keep the room dirty. The room is never clean. The house is never clean. That's because somewhere deep inside of you, you are carrying some blame. I am not able to keep the house clean. That's because you are afraid or you are conscious that somebody else is going to blame you. Oh my God, now maybe my parent or my parents-in-law or my husband will come and say the room is not clean, the house is not clean, right? Always there is a fear of doing things. I will be blamed and then I will blame the child. The blame just passes on. So where did this blame come from? This blame was actually sold in you when you were a child. That is your inner child. You are still carrying that inner child, a little 6-year-old or 5-year-old. However, you can imagine your own child self, right? I'll go deep into this in the upcoming session. Don't worry. So the point is this: when you are parenting, you are just parenting based on the gaps that this inner child is carrying. Gaps are covered with the blame, the shame, the guilt, or the spanks or the guilt. That your child self, that when you were a child, whatever you have just were bombarded from the society. Just another very simple example is maybe you are in a social gathering. Your child is, say, just crying for the dress that she has given her. She wants to change the dress. Or maybe you have served your child's plate and your child doesn't want to finish it. And then you will immediately say, no, no, you are supposed to cry here. We are in front of everybody. That Masi is saying you, they will say, she, your child is crying. Oh, you are crying. They will shame you. They will say, she, they will say, you are a cry girl, you are a cry boy, right? And then you try to console your child saying all these things. Again, do you think this is common? Just type out C in the chat box. Just type out C in the chat box. And somehow you try to divert the child from whatever the child is crying to what the child is expected to do. Again, when you are doing this, it is not because you want to shame the child. That shame is coming from, again, within you. You fear that, oh my God, no, my aunt, that means an older generation from you. Yeah, thank you for your response. She is going to come here and she'll start a rant about my daughter. Oh, no, your daughter doesn't listen to you. Oh, your daughter doesn't wear this dress. Oh, your daughter doesn't finish the entire meal. Oh, your daughter is not used to eating this sabzi. How are you raising your children without making them used to eat all the stuff, all vegetables, right? So that is where your blaming your child is coming from. That is the inner child. Again, you have an inner child inside of you. It is your responsibility to identify what is your inner child carrying. What are the blames? What are the labels? What are the shames that your inner child is carrying? So just because of that fear that we fear that someone from this will come and make a scene about me. So let me just pass it down to my child. So based on that, when we are parenting, we will just pass on the blame to the child. And then say your child is uh, any age, again, age doesn't matter. There is a child, and maybe your child is walking to a sibling or another friend, and there that child is blaming the other sibling, right? The blame is carried forward. And if you want to make the world a better place, you've got to stop this blame right at where you are carrying. Right? You should not be passing it down to your child, and your child should not be passing it down to the sibling or another friend. It's very common. Again, those of you who have 2 children, you might have observed this. In one room, you are kind of telling to your sibling, can you just speak properly, and only then I will understand. And the same child will go to another room to the sibling and say, speak properly, I can't understand. The problem was with my understanding. The problem was with my patients. You agree, just type out A in the chat box if you agree with this, right? You tell one of your children, elder or younger, that do this, do that. That child will go and tell the sibling, do this, do that. You blame this child, that child will go to the sibling and do the blaming. Yes, thank you very much. So again, you can make the world a better place starting from the way you are raising your child. So parenting matters, and you have brought in this child to this planet to actually make the world a better place. There is another spiritual reason for this, which I will go deep a little further again. So the point is this, right? Whatever blaming and shaming you are doing, this is not about beating yourself up or blaming you or labeling you again. I don't want you to do that. I also help you. I also help parents how to not beat up yourself, how to get out of that guilt zone and live a free life. Because only when you free up yourself from all these bondages and labels and blames and shames, can you parent freely through your inner power. Otherwise, the monkey mind just takes over. You remember that day your parent blamed and today you to blame your child. That's all. Right? So that is how the monkey mind makes you react at that point of time without any thinking. You don't think before acting. But after acting, you regret. You feel bad. Oh, why did I do that? Okay, the next time I think I'll wait for a while and then see if I have to yell or not. Right? But again, you will continue to yell because universe is like that. Universe keeps giving you experiences repeatedly so that there is something for you to be learned from that, and you will stop yelling if it is about tantrums. So that's again a spiritual law. So all these parenting tips, tricks, techniques that you may be listening to that divert a child from whatever she's crying, or ignore a child's cry and they will, oh my God, yes, Sumati, again, crying for your mistake, that means you are feeling guilty about it. Again, that shouldn't enter in. You should not put yourself in a guilt zone. You should just make clear pathway, identify all the gaps, heal it, make peace with it, and clear the pathway. Because once you put yourself in a guilt zone, again another tantrum happens, and then you will put the child in the guilt zone. Again, another conflict happens. Conflicts are very common. The world is, again, nature has designed humans that way. If everybody is same, if there are no conflicts, there is nothing to learn from each other, right? In a day, 95 to 98% of interactions that you have with your child are conflicting interactions. Do you agree with me? Just type out AG in the chat box if you agree with me. Come for the meal. No, not now. Please brush your teeth. No, not now. Please have milk. No, not now. Please have fruits. No, not now. So yes, thank you very much. 95 to 98% of interactions that you have with your child are conflicting. They are designed by nature that way because you got to learn something from these, and most importantly, your child has to learn something from these experiences. You see all the emotional intelligence, the emotional classes, the life skills classes that again people are crazily going around for online classes for all of these. Children are learning these from these conflicting experiences that the child has with his own parent. How are you dealing with your emotions? How are you dealing with your child's emotions when you were already stressed out with your kitchen work? That is where your child is already learning about emotions. You need not make him sit here and say, okay, this is a happy face. Okay, this is a sad face. This boy is banging on the door. This is a bad habit. This is a good habit. What if there is an emergency and the boy is really went to a neighbor door and he's banging? So anything, any statement that you make can never be universally right or universally wrong. The first point is that it is always a perspective, right? And you can help the child understand these perspectives when you are with the child through these conflicting experiences, not when everything is clean and green and you make the child come sit for this class. This is an emotion, this is a moral value class, this is story time class, you're going to learn moral values. No, your child is already learning moral values through those 98% of conflicting interactions that your child had with you. And they play a major role. They are creating impressions on your child's subconscious. And they're going to last even when your child is an adult, they're going to last. Even you, at this point of time, you still have all these impressions that were made in your subconscious when you were a little infant, even when the parent has just conceived. So that is about inner child, where I will also teach you about how you can heal your inner child and make yourself free and actually parent through your inner power. Yeah, so any other questions we can have, and then maybe we can wind up, and we'll meet again on Saturday at 4 p.m. So there I'm going to, it will be a 90-minute session. So I'll be going deep into various topics in this. So any questions, please feel free to unmute and ask.
Hi, this is Sumati.
Yeah, please go ahead.
As you said that to make the children to, perspective, how we can teach a 5-year kid to think in a perspective, like what you're telling, it's right, I accept it, but how to teach them? So I just need guidance about that.
Yeah. The point is this: we did not teach anything. You just open up the ground and ask your child to make some conclusions. Maybe you are reading out a story. Don't read out the moral value, or don't tell out any of your conclusions. You remember that day that animal hurt that animal, and that is why this animal is getting hurt now. Don't just give any conclusions. Ask your child to derive conclusions from this. So maybe there is a worksheet with a child banging on the door, and maybe you have a conclusion that you have a conclusion, or you have a statement that is banging on door a good habit or bad habit. It is a bad habit, right? You should put a cross. But maybe your child has a perspective that what, mama, maybe he's in danger. 5-year-old will easily understand this. Maybe he's in a danger, and maybe in a movie he might have seen something, some kind of danger happening, and they banging on the door. Right? What if I go, maybe another boy goes to another room and bangs something? So this is just from that worksheet. Even otherwise, in your experiences, again, each one has his or her own experiences. So best learning platform is a child's experiences. So before telling that this is universally right, this is universally wrong, this is that, you have to follow me, just try to keep asking questions from your child. Refrain yourself from making such statements. And what do you think about it? How do you react at it? Right? Say simple things like there is a shadow. You were sleeping, and there is a shadow of a window or something, and then the dinosaur or something, I don't know, it just didn't make sense when we are in half sleep actually, and we feel that the child is actually disturbing us. But then that was a perspective of the child, and the child wanted me to explain all of that stuff, but I was already half asleep. But that was the perspective of the child. And then another child said, no, I see it something else. And most importantly, if you have siblings, this works perfectly fine. When there is a fight, when there is a conflict between siblings, and you are standing here like a referee, okay, you hit once, okay, you hit twice, you hit thrice, you hit 4 times. You are wrong, you are right. But no, both of them were right. He was right in his perspective, he was right in his perspective. So listen to him, and then just state their perspectives, discuss their perspectives. Okay, 4-year-old thought you were actually pulling it, and hence he hit you. But then 7-year-old says, no, I actually didn't want to pull it. I just put my hand, and then he suddenly hit me, right? Putting out the perspective. So ask your child, what did you want to do, or what was running in your mind that made you do this? Why did you have to hit? Something like that. So maybe the child says he's pulling, but maybe he didn't actually want to pull. That is also there.
Fine, it's nice. Thank you so much.
Thank you for asking. So there is another experience where again siblings fighting, and 7-year-old, 4-year-old fighting, and then so the 7-year-old was getting that she's not listening to me. She was offering something. She was offering a fair deal, according to her. She was offering a fair deal for both of them. But then she's thinking, no, the 7-year-old is thinking that 4-year-old is not accepting this fair deal. Why does she want that? And the 4-year-old was just tumbling, like rolling on the floor, saying, no, this is not a fair deal. No. Just stay quiet. And see, observe both of their feelings and emotions. So after a while, after 2 minutes of rolling on the floor, and after even after repetition, the 7-year-old repeating that, no, this is a fair deal because this is this. The 4-year-old actually thought again and understood that she was confused with something else, and that is the reason she was denying it. Said, fine, yes, this is a fair deal. Right? Just giving some time and letting them understand their feelings. So if it takes time for them to understand their feelings, be with them through this journey. So what is it that you have in mind? Why do you think that this is not a fair deal? Or something, depending on the conflict, depending on the experience again. So why do you think this is not a fair deal? So she has her own perspective. She has her own perspective. Again, yeah. So thank you for the participation. And if all is good, just about AG in the chat box. If all is good, AG, and then we'll meet again on Saturday at 4 p.m. 4 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. So 5:30 p.m. It's going to be a 90-minute webinar where I'll be going deep into some of the topics. Again, there'll be a rotation every week. I'll be talking on each of these aspects in parenting, because everything is important and everything is interrelated, interconnected. And most importantly, everything depends on the inner child, on your being, how you are inside of you. So thank you very much for your presence, staying until this time, even though it's a busy day, it's a busy afternoon, or maybe a lazy afternoon. Thank you very much for showing up, and meet you again live on Saturday at 4 p.m. Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you, Murugala.